Together, a podcast where we like to highlight all things positive on and off the table. We have returning back to us Ian Carnegie of MAC Major Arm Wrestling Championship, Jason Costantini of Table Monkeys, and the co-founder of TAWF, Team Arm Wrestling Federation. And for the first time, we have Jerry Bell of Michigan State. Too Strong for You, Promotions Club Wars, everything that is associated in the arm wrestling in Michigan, the state of Michigan. This man has his hand in, and he is a force to be reckoned with at the table. On top of being one hell of a promoter. Thank you for joining us tonight, gents.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. How's everybody doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks.
Doing great, man.
I'm okay. I think I'm a little under the weather, but it is what it is.
When aren't you? You gotta get healthy, man. We gotta get you healthy.
I'm telling you, it's crazy. It's stress. If I could tell like you how many things I'm involved with arm wrestling right now, it's literally a full-time job for me.
Listen, keeping idle hands are devil's playground. I get it, but you gotta, be smart about that. You gotta be smart about how many things you dip your hands into.
I can't say no. I can't say no. Ask Jason. What's the thing that you say I suffer from?
Shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
That's all that is.
Yeah,
he's not wrong.
I can't say no a word.
It's way possible, so it's like, it's worth dealing with.
You know what's really crazy is I want to just blab everything and tell you guys all the projects I'm on, but because of the climate going on right now, I'm just gonna not.
Yeah.
But it's cool. Everything's really cool, especially what Jason's got going on.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there. So
yeah, Ian will be there at the event, and it's Mac tables and Mac rules, so it's like we're working together as much as we pretty much can, and I'm sure there's ways that Mac is going to incorporate, like even at the last event they used the scoreboard for stuff. I'm sure that there's going to be ways that they'll continue to cross over, and we'll all work together as a big happy family, because that's like Ian always says. High tides raise all ships. So that's the kind of mentality that we both going forward with.
Let me ask you guys something real quick.
Yeah.
Well, so you're talking about the rules for MAC. So can you explain to me like what would be the bigger difference in rules? I don't know a lot about it.
For MAC?
Yeah, for MAC. What's the difference in the rules?
So it's a set grip, right off the bat. So you come in at a karate chop, the ref puts your weapon together, it's a close your thumbs, close your hands, go situation. As soon as there's a slip, all slips go to straps, and as soon as there is a slip, so in a super match situation, every round after that is straight to straps. Okay. So you slip the first time, then you're going to straps the rest of the super match. If you're pullers, you're probably not going to go to straps, so there's no, so everything around it is designed to save time and make it efficient and spectator friendly. And then you've seen the tables, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So then the tables up, just it's hard to accidentally foul. It doesn't make that fouls like impossible or make it like easy to cheat. It just makes it that you're not going to bobble accidentally and get called, and you're not going to like slip off the front and not mean to, Especially
I like it.
With the way the new pads are and the new rim, you can really feel where you are, and you're in control of how to use all the space that you have now.
I do like the incline as you go out, as I think that would help for, elbow fouls as well. It gives you something to push off of a little bit more. Also, anything that saves time is right up my alley. I like that for the event a lot.
Yeah, I mean the last MAC Challenger Series that Ian ran, at halfway through he had to slow down. Like we had 70 fucking super matches planned. Sorry, and halfway through we had to
take a lunch break
because it was just like with the setup and the
You say 70? Like 70?
Over 70. Hey, can I just go back? Can I just go back with the rule set? Yeah, because here's what I want people to know, and Jason and I are finally going to make a really in depth video. Um, our style of arm wrestling is as different to regular arm wrestling as karate is to kung fu. Okay, we don't allow you to take your own grip. Everything about the grip is Mac related, okay? And like I don't care if you're a hooker, I don't care if you're a top roller, everything is fair, okay? It's identical for both. And the one thing that so like your natural lie of your arm, like this is how WAF, I don't know if you can see me, they want you completely straight, right? But when you
Yeah,
stand, your elbow kind of comes off to an angle, right? And
correct.
so there's a circle in the middle of the table, and on your pad, if we're doing right-handed, your elbow must be set on the right side of that circle, and I have to be on the right side of that circle so that we get that natural lie like this. Now, people say, "Oh, that's going to favor hookers." Our shoulders are square to each other, not to the table. We have a clock system. It's 11 o'clock to 6 o'clock, not 12 to 6. So you never see guys having to force their shoulder under their chin in Mac, okay? It's basically how you practice. You grab the left-handed peg with a straight arm and you put your arm down. That's how you practice,
Like,
okay? So
instead instead of
it's
having to
more,
do this, instead of having to do this, you just like
yeah,
naturally.
and
More natural.
I'm not going to tell you
it's
to
more
push it
natural.
forward.
And
It
you're
doesn't mean that you
square
can do
to each
this.
other.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that you can do this. It just means
No,
Yeah, doesn't mean you can do it, but
force you to get this shoulder in and stand all awkward.
you're not.
You can let
Yeah.
this
yeah.
shoulder like
And
Okay.
honestly, it actually makes slipping a little bit harder because there's more of a bite in the hand. You get what I mean? Like you really have to focus on trying to escape the slip. And then once you slip, you're in straps. Okay. So our shoulders are 11 o'clock, not 12. That and we place your hand. If you start doing this bullshit with because the strap is coming and
Yeah,
we're gonna foul you. We have to put your palms together. We don't allow loading. Why? Because in a set grip, when you load, you can duck, you can recline your thumb to
yeah,
gain space and bullshit. That's what was the problem with the WAL. Because they allowed loading, so that setup was like fuckery for guys that really understood how to manipulate it. But because I was in it, I understand it. That's why I eliminated loading,
yeah.
right?
okay.
Because once you get the guys to get now, it's sorry, you can load. It's it's just not directional. What I
Yeah,
mean is
yeah,
you
it's
can't.
called the way it's written in the rules. Just because I just finished going through the whole rule thing, is that excessive loading off center, it will cause a foul. So if both guys start like at least in the strap. If you're not in the strap, then any loading you're going to notice because the
It's
hands.
called a static load. Like you can be like
Yep.
firm.
Yeah, that
You
part.
just
You're talking
you
about,
just you just cannot push side pressure. You can't push down pressure. You can't do back pressure. You just can
Right.
be firm.
Exactly.
yeah,
Okay.
Okay. I
Say again.
understand that.
you don't have to
Say,
be loose. You can be stiff, but you just can't be pulling or pushing like you said. But
yeah, yeah. And if you want to be dead loaded, that's your prerogative. But if the other guy wants to be stiff, that's his prerogative. You get what I mean?
yeah,
All right.
I
But
find it to be interesting. I do. I find it to be interesting.
I'll tell you this: most of our fouls happen in the setup, and the events going forward. That's where our fouls are going to be. Like that's an emphasis on our referees because we want the match to start fair. Once we say go, buddy, it's on the arm wrestler. It's very difficult to foul out once the match says go. But if you don't want to listen, you want to be a fucktard. We're because we ran into a couple of incidences at our last event where
Another
myself
reason
and
why
other
running 70 super matches is a good idea or why it was helpful because you get to like the amount of research that you've got at this point on the table has gotten so extensive because you run so many matches every event.
Yeah, exactly. We really did a deep dive into like after action report, like what worked, what didn't work. I know for a match that I was in with Tiny, there was a few incidences where I should have called a foul to an opponent, in the setup, and I didn't, and now I'm really mad at myself for it. But now, because of that, I'm going to instruct the referees to say, listen, and we're going to make a video about it, right? Do not fuck around in the setup. The setup is the refs, okay? The arm wrestling is the pullers.
Yeah.
We don't care how great of a cheater you are. That's not what Mac is about. We just want the most fair possible setup, ones that doesn't promote slipping. And if you do slip, that's it. You lose the privilege of arm wrestling outside of the strap. We just strap you in for the entire duration because we're about efficiency, speed, and putting asses in seats and eyes on TVs. And I'm telling you, that Challenger series there was so many bangers on there. I bet you if we just took the best matches out of that, that could have been a pay-per-view like on the level of like awesome in terms of matches. Would you say?
Yeah, yeah.
Jason?
In one word, Ian, I'd like to say it's action.
Yeah.
Arm wrestling action. That's that downtime that we have, that dead air that we have, dead space of competing in between, waiting for your next round, waiting for everything. The jockeying at the center table does not happen. It is about arm wrestling action, and that's one of the things that I love about it, and that's the whole reason why I'm super invested into this and watching this grow.
And just to go back to like Ian said, the after action report, is that what it's called?
Yes, sir.
Anyway, when you said the main thing that was missed in that match was that center circle, which I love when something like that happens because it proves why the center circle makes sense, why it's there, why you need to follow it. Because all that was happening was Brendan was shooting that circle, which was creating all the other advantages he was getting. If Ian had just fouled that and not allowed that and forced what he wants, which is this, it would have changed all the other advantages that Brendan was getting and made the setup that much more fair. I'm not saying it would have won, but because he was strong that day and he was on point. But
I want to admit to the community, this is like maybe professional suicide, but I want to admit to the community that my problem in that match was that there were 67 or 69 matches and not a single one fouled out. And I was like, I was buying into my own propaganda and bullshit. And I didn't want to foul out because we had a perfect record. So my own biasness to my system caused me to make bad decisions as a referee.
But
That's
what
fair.
I just said is it also proved that the system is like it's right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's
But moving forward, I can't be afraid to foul out a guy. Honestly, like if you really think about it, even if I was to be super anal retentive and foul out a lot of people, it's very, very rare that we would actually foul out a guy in enough matches that it would really dictate the outcome of the overall.
They'll learn and figure it out, and that's all I'm pointing out is that because I don't think anybody's ever really challenged that circle in the setup. Like everybody likes the idea that they can do this, and Brendan was taking advantage of this, like being smart about it, and because it's only looking back that we realize, oh, that's why the circle's there, and that really does give all these advantages. That now you realize why you want to call it, but it's only after how many ever 100 matches now, it's only been exposed now because he was the first one to actually exploit
it. He was the first one that kept challenging it, and I didn't know how to deal with it, and it was stressing me out, right? And then I talked to
I don't know exactly, and it's like I'm like I didn't even realize until after how much of a difference that was making. You know what I mean? But this is all that is kudos to him because that's the point of any good system is only good because it's been tested by people trying to fuck with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
absolutely. Manipulate it. Absolutely.
That's a perfect example of that happened. We figured out what was happening. Here's how we weren't abiding by
there's no question he's a super smart arm wrestler, but you know what? As a referee,
the next thing out that's inside the rules to get an advantage. Like that's how he arm wrestles, and that's good. But, it postponed the rule set and everything by having.
But aside from that shit show, honestly, guys, there was so many incredible matches. Like
Yeah.
incredible matches that happened. Almost every match ended in a pin. No, I guess every match basically had to end in a pin, right? Because there was zero.
Our match, they were all pins. Yeah, there were nothing. Nobody fouled out.
Nobody fouled out. Not even one match in a series of best 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
That is,
How many fouls? How many foul
It's a
system do
We
you
three-foul
have?
have
system, so to
and,
not have
and
a foul out is okay. That's gives you that advantage. But if you just do the number of fouls over the matches, the number there is even it's so low. It's stupid. Like when you look at it, you're like, no, that can't be right. Like
yeah,
you double
we
check.
also have a running warning system, and it's so much more simple than a running foul system. Like the running warning is infinitely times better, in my opinion, than a running foul system.
Yeah, explain
You
that.
want to explain it, Jay?
Yeah, the running warning means that the table has the red border. So the red border, the way the red
Yeah.
border works is that I can touch the red border, but I can't be on the red border. So like if my elbow is it's gonna be hard to show it on the screen, but if my elbow is touching the red, that's fine. But as soon as my elbow's on the red, the ref's gonna say warning. And at that point, if I go on the red again, that's a foul. But I can still win the match. I just have to like when they say elbow like warning and they let you know, you have to
Yeah,
get
no, I
back on.
get it.
Back on. It's
So when you
go ahead.
when you do win the match, let's say you had a warning. When you do win the match, does it just
No,
restart?
it's still a win. It's a live match 100% once you come back on. But if you go back on the red wall,
So
you get a
war-
warning. Or let's say you're on the red and they warn you and you don't immediately move, then it's a foul. So you're not really gaining
Okay.
an advantage by getting the warning in any way because it's only for the red border line. Like if you do a big elbow hop and it's outside the elevation,
Yeah.
that's a stop foul right away. If you clear the red border completely, that's a stop foul right away. It's only if you're in a grinder and you're getting to the edge and you get up on the red and then the ref can keep the match going and say, warning, warning, you come back in and now it's fully live. It's not like you have to think, I have to win or I can't lose or there's no more. It's just
Yeah, once it's live, you can actually pin for win. Now, what you cannot do, which gives you a foul, is if you're in the warning and you attempt and you get a pin, you don't get like the win. You get a foul.
Say that again,
You-
sir.
Okay.
If
All right.
you're in warning, you can't win from a warning. Okay, and if
I
you're
missed that.
like
Sorry,
like if you're
I wrong, man. I thought you
if
can't win the warning.
no, what I'm saying is if say you give me a warning, okay, I come back in. If you give me a warning, I come back into the play and I pin the guy. That's my win. But if I stay in the warning and I pin the guy and I never left the warning, that's a foul on me.
Yeah. Okay, that means
yeah, because you're
Okay.
maintaining being in a foul
if
position.
for
Right?
example, the way that would happen is I'm trying to pin the guy coming across, and I get to the edge of the red on my side there, and I'm all on the red, and the ref's like giving me a warning as I'm pinning him, and then I pin him while staying on the red. Then the ref would be like, "No, that's not a pin. That's actually a foul because I was giving you a warning." You didn't listen.
Yeah, because basically,
Warning, I stopped and I pulled back a bit and then pin him. Then
that's right.
Clean pin. Yeah.
All right, let me ask you a question real quick. So 2 warnings, we get a foul,
Your
right?
second warning is a foul automatically.
This is
All
correct.
fouls are stop fouls.
Okay.
All fouls are stop fouls.
Okay. So 2 warnings, we get a foul. We restart the match.
Yep.
Correct? All right. Do my warnings start over?
Ian, the warning starts over, right?
Yeah, because you're on a whole new. Sorry, I got messages. Because you're on a whole new foul system. Like so, essentially, it's just like a regular match. Like in WAF, where you get 2 warnings, then you get a foul. On your next reset, you're right back to that 2 warnings to a foul set.
I get my warnings again. Okay, that's what I was checking.
A warning because usually in WAF you would get a warning for or at East vs West for a false start. You wouldn't get a warning during the match. So you could have a warning, get a foul during the match, and then still have a warning. Like you can't start early yet. But if you got a warning for a warning and then got a foul for your second warning, then the next setup, like Ian said, you would still have a warning and a foul.
Right. So the reason I was bringing that up is because if it's somebody who wanted to soften their arm up, you have the 3 foul system, and I get these warnings for, I can go early, a couple times, and then I can go early a third time, and I mean I've already hit the guy's arm 3 times, and I only have 1 foul.
Those aren't warnings. Like, those are fouls. So
Because it's a set. Because
you
it's a
Okay.
set.
can't.
Because that's good. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Because
All right.
They've
Yeah,
thought
that
of
helps get rid
everything.
of that.
Jerry, they've thought of everything with this.
Yeah,
but
right,
that's a good point.
yeah.
And there's still that's still part of strategy. So you want a little bit of that. So that's again, I think why 3 fouls is better than 2, because
Sure.
it's like if I know that's my best shot, sure, I'll take 2 fouls to know that I get 1 go at you, and it better work, because the last 2 I wasted just trying to burn you out.
Right.
But like Ian said, there's no, like in WAF or East versus West, I can get a warning, get a foul, get a warning, get a foul, and that's a loss. So it's the same. It's still 3 hits, right?
Well, you don't
Yeah.
want you don't want to keep fouling out till you lose the match.
No.
But
I'm
Well, no. But my point was is in this situation there's 3 fouls, or
there's 3 fouls,
do
but
you,
instead of
do you
2.
want to know why
So
we went 3 fouls? Do you want to know what you want to know why we went to?
with both of you talking at the same time, I didn't hear either one.
I said, do you want to know why we went to 3 fouls?
Yes,
Because
please.
we want things to end in a pin, a real result. And if it's, you have to go into a match thinking the referees are not going to bail me out. I have to win. It's super hard to foul out, so I'm stuck with this guy. I gotta fucking win. And you know what? You get a lot of cracks at it. We're giving you the rope to hang yourself with. We want to see.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
I do want to allude to one thing, but before that, I just want to shout out the guys that are in the chat. What's up, Drew24? How's it going, man? Always in the chat. He actually has a question for Ian. Why did you cause all these issues with the world of arm wrestling? Got Dan Centrello, what's happening? Some of my teammates were with him watching the show. What's up, man? Andrew Rivers from Week Versus Arm Wrestling. Larry Flame out of PA. What's up, man? Alexis Caban. We got Sergio. He turned around and said, "Let's just do no fouls, all out of anarchy." I don't think so, man. And then Eric Viss actually has a good one. Good question for you guys. Ian, this is more for you. What if your opponent is square to the table? Do you have to match them?
Fair.
So
Ian, did you hear it?
So if you're the idea, people get a little when we say that you don't have to be square, they think that means that you can carve. It doesn't mean that you can carve. It just means that you don't have to exaggerate the off shoulder. So if you set up and you want to top roll, you can set up if this is how you really like to set up, you're free to do that. But no, your opponent doesn't have to then square up next to you. But he can't be with his lead shoulder carved in. That the ref won't allow. The ref
can't hear you. Ian, we can't hear you.
Overly put your off shoulder in, if that makes sense.
Ian, you're muted. We can't hear you. I think because you took a call or something. You have to hop out.
Ian,
hop back in.
You're muted. You're muted, Ian.
Okay. Chaos.
Ian
always brings the chaos.
For Eric, they're asking. That's pretty much how that works. Is that even though you don't have to be square, as we're saying, you're not allowed to carve. Now you do get a little bit sometimes where one guy wants his hand to be carved in a bit, and the other guy wants his hand to be like this, that was happening with Brendan and I, and that's more what Ian said, where it's you're not allowed to have either. I shouldn't have been able to be like this, and Brendan shouldn't have been able to be like this. We should have been forced to both be flat and together more, and that's the objective, and that's what we're really going to shoot for.
Can you wait? Hold on. Can you guys hear me?
Now
we're good.
Okay, I wanted to reiterate something that Jason said. Listen, you can do the whole squaring the shoulder thing, but that doesn't mean that your arm is entitled to be perfectly straight. That angle has to happen on both sides in order to get palms completely flat and for the setup to be fair. The idea is for you to be square to your opponent, not necessarily the table. Okay, the
Yeah.
table, and that way there's more palm, like there's more bite in the hand, and
More
exactly
connection.
there's
Better,
more
a more
connection.
fair connection. Between the
Exactly,
hands.
because the more super straight you are, well, why do you think top rolling has become like the most relevant form of arm wrestling now? Because WAF, when you do super straight and you take a like as soon as you do back pressure, the next thing is side pressure, and you guys are almost immediately going to slip. Do you get what I mean? But when you're on that angle, when you do back pressure into the palm a bit. So if I'm doing that into the palm and you're doing it into the palm, we got to bite on each other. And so now you're going to see a lot more guys doing big top rolling movements, more high hooking. And guess what? Hooking also. You're going to see more. Like, I feel like we had so many matches that were the entire arm wrestling spectrum, more than what you
Yeah.
see at
Yep.
WAF now, because WAF, especially at the amateur level, is almost all top roll.
Well, it caters to a higher level of table IQ, display of table IQ, right? The more versatile you are, the more I think the Mac can highlight those styles a little more
Yeah,
accentuated because you have more room, you have a little more of
yeah.
range of motion available to you.
I would agree to this point. Once they say go and the arm wrestling happens, yes.
Yeah.
But a lot of the hand ninjas, a lot of the cheaters, a lot of the guys that are really keen are going to hate this league. They're going to hate this league because they're not going to be able to do those things. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm not trying to shut down what exists. If you like all that BS and the 75-minute setups, there's 100 leagues out there that will feed your fill. But if you want to see who can just arm wrestle when the ref says go, we have the best product. I don't care. Send anybody to argue this point with me. I will fight it. Like, let's do it. Devin, no matter who, anybody. Like,
Well, we'll save that. We'll save that fight.
So we've talked about some of the rules,
Yeah,
right?
go ahead.
We've talked about some of the rules here, but so who is the ultimate go-to person in a situation in a problem situation where they don't know the answer? Who is training these referees? Who are these referees? You know, there's a lot of
yeah.
differences
So we have
in the
we have
rules. There's
Dave
a lot.
Knox is like very good. We do have to update him based on some of the like I said, the after action report of the last event. So, but he's very good. Because of Bart Wood's experience in the WAL, he can get those guys to set up really good. I would
Okay, yeah.
say I maybe Jason would argue this point, but I think I'm pretty good as a ref.
No, I
you
think
know?
both you and I are. I think both you and I are good refs, and we understand the rules well.
Yeah,
And
yeah. So
I think Galen is good, and
and
Troy is
Troy
Troy is
Eaton,
good as
but
well.
we do. You're right. We need to do some referee seminars. We have to train a lot of people. I got a promoter in Ohio. What's his name? Marshall Thompson. He just bought
Yeah.
two Mac tables. I think he's fed up with the current. Oh shoot, guys! I have a business call. Hasta la vista. All right, we'll talk later.
Thanks for joining
Stay
us,
well,
Ian.
last,
Catch you
Thanks.
everybody.
later.
Bye. Bye.
But
So I know Marshall in Ohio. Is he? Do you know? Is he running like the everything, the Ohio States and stuff with this program now?
I don't know about that. That's a new thing with Ian that just happened. So that'll have to be when he's on it. Unfortunately,
Okay,
I can't speak on that one. But I can say for the record that yeah,
understood.
we definitely have a look like some tweaks and things to update. But the the refs that we do have, the main thing is that they really understand the table, so they understand how to call the fouls now, and now that the pads have really gotten a lot better. Like at first we had some issues with the rippling effect. So like as you would push your elbow, it would ripple, which would augment.
You
And it would
stretching,
augment and distort that red outline, and then that would kind of mess up the fouls. Now that's absolutely perfect, and the way the pad feels is by far the best pad I've ever felt. It's just like, I know I sound like I'm just preaching on it, but it's really, really nice now.
It's one of those situations you definitely have to experience it, I think. And once you do, I mean, conceptually, it always looked really interesting and intriguing to me. But now that I've actually participated on it, it's a game changer to the entire sport. I mean, I don't have that much length in the sport. I've only been in it for just under 5 years. But I will tell you, I've competed at a lot of different places within those 5 years, and it has changed my entire perspective of how the sport operates, and what we can potentially do.
Okay. So I have another question. It's about rankings. Now, are most of the rankings out there? The people that are running the different rankings out there, are they accepting this? Is this part of that,
I mean,
or is it something totally
different? So I don't know how it's going to play into the rankings yet, but the CAWF has put the MAC and the TAWF events on their website, and the Ontario Wrestling OAA, I believe, has talked to Ian about using them, like sanctioning those tables as well. So I mean, in all honesty, at least for me, my concern isn't, and I don't want this to come across the wrong way. My concern isn't directly the arm wrestler in the sense of like the rankings or like, is the event the way that they wanted it, the way it was before the arm wrestling, exactly how they wanted it. I'm concerned with getting, like Ian said, asses in seats and eyes on TVs, because that's what's going to produce money, which then the arm wrestlers can have a revenue, which then that will feed everything.
I get that.
And this idea of building the sport like out of integrity and for the athlete first, like that sounds great, but it means fuck all, honestly. Like it's not going to ever.
Well, my whole reasoning for asking was just to see how well it was accepted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get that. You want to see
is like the main focus for us is making it so the sport is like Dan said earlier, is about action and about watching it, and that's going to create good matches. And all the arm wrestlers that have been a part of it, that's really what they love about arm wrestling. Not many arm wrestlers love all that craziness. But usually, when you leave a match, if you got fucked with that, or even if you did it, like it's drama and the shit that most of us don't like anyway. But it's such a part of it, and it's like some people think that's like so much the like what arm wrestling is about, and I don't buy into that anyway. And that's again why like coming up with a totally different concept of being like, let's present the sport in a completely different way than it's been presented before, because I want people to be able to relate to it and watch it that have no interest in really arm wrestling, because the more people do that, the more people will be able to have the opportunity to arm wrestle. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, I do actually. I do 100%. Right now, it's just a part of it. It's a part of it now. The cheating in the setup is a part of it. If you could take that all away, it's just arm wrestling. I mean, we're arm wrestlers, right?
Exactly.
I mean, we're not cheaters.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like it. I do. I like it.
A lot of the cheating, I think the reason that it's accepted is because a lot of people consider it strategy, and a lot of it is like all that stuff we were just talking about with Brendan. That's like, kudos to him. It's smart. It's like, if you're not trying to find a way to get an advantage, you're not really trying to win. I'm all about all that. So, it's become. It's at the point where that's one of the issues too now, is it's so subjective that the consistency is what gets off, and then that's what people argue about. Of like, no, that is the same. No, it's not. I got cheated. No, you didn't. I did. And it's
Right.
And it's because
Yep.
so much of what's being called and what's being talked about is subjective, as opposed to, even though the setup sounds like it's more vague, once you see it and once you get going with it, you understand that it's like, oh no, this is like, you want it to be simple enough that people can look at it and know when people are going outside of the box, you know. And with the way that a WAF setup is, and when people can get their grip and all this, it's a different rep doing a different ref script every time. It's many variables that people that don't understand it, when they watch it, they don't get any of the intricacies, you know. But if the setup looks the same every single time, then when somebody starts fucking with it, everybody what's he doing, you know, like you can see it.
Yeah.
So does this league have a cadence for the referee, or is it up to the referee?
There's no ready, so it's close your thumbs, close your hands, go, and the close your hands, go. Is there's a distinct gap between the two to make sure there's no covering and no early movement, so it mitigates that and that's another one that's not easy to get. But it's not easy to get perfect for the reffing, because a lot of the times you want to get the match going. So we've definitely had a number of matches that are like, close your hands, go. But it's supposed to be like, close your hands, go. You know, and give them that second to make sure.
No one's ever ready at the word ready, right? No one's ever ready at the word ready. And we all know that. So like this helps eliminate some of those who say, oh, I wasn't ready. You know, no, like this is the simplicity. There's three words.
Well, if they lost, if they lose, they weren't ready.
They have to close their hands. Like if you're closing your hands and you're not ready for the match to start, then you're not an arm wrestler yet. Like you still got to work on it, you know. Like
there's work to be done.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have some more questions here. In this area that I live in, so when I started doing what I do, which is mainly super matches, I do a little bit of tournament stuff these days. I like dabble in it a little bit, but I'm mainly super matches. So all of the old time pullers, long time pullers, you know, guys and stuff that's been around forever, they really didn't like it. You know, I ruffled a few feathers. They really didn't like it. These people don't deserve matches, blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing. It has taken a while, some years, you know. However, I have gotten these people to come around. I've had people apologize, tell me that they, you know, their views on it when they started, their views on it now. You know, and I've changed some rules also, mostly, like you're saying, Jason, to save time. You know, we have an auto strap. You know, an auto strap. It's just, I actually wish I would have thought of keeping them in the strap for the rest of the match. That is not a part of my rules, but if you slip here, it goes to a strap. Obviously, but if you can't get a grip, your referee's grip goes to a strap as well here. The problem that I've had in the beginning, and I'm coming to a question here, is all of the pullers that have been around for 7, 10, 15, 30 years, the older they are, the longer they've been around, the less they like it. They just don't like it, and it takes a long time to kind of bring them around. I'm wondering what you're running into with arm wrestlers of that caliber, age, and stuff with this whole new league and tables and the whole everything new. I wonder if you're running. Are you getting any pushback from that?
Yeah, obviously, you always get a little bit of pushback on stuff. I think, especially every time you do something different.
But where's it coming from? Is it the long-time pullers? Is it the older guys? They don't like to change? Or I mean, what is your
usually
opinion?
If you get some, like, you know, if you get stubbornness, I would say that's where it's coming from. But I mean, I feel like the thing with arm wrestling is such a niche sport, and it's so small still, that the people that are good at it, the people that have been in it, they're going to go where the attention is. And if you're doing something that's probably why the people that apologized to you and came around is because you just said fuck you and you kept with it, and people started paying attention, and then it was like, hey, he's actually, like, people are going and watching, and there's people at the event, and it's a good event. And now the guys that instead of sitting home with their fucking thumb in their ass saying like, well, I don't want to do that, that's no fun, they go, yeah, actually I do want to be a part of it because it's fun now. Where before it was like you wanted them to, you were nobody, and if they come, they're going to make it cool. Well, then you became the cool kid, and now they're like, oh, no, wait, I do that too. I can be cool. So whoever...
You're right.
You know, that's all that matters.
So,
and that's that's kind of what like for me with TAWF, what I just keep pushing is that like I'm trying to get on broadcast. That's all I care about. It is structured to be on broadcast. Period. End of story. I'm not interested in pay-per-view. Like people have come to me about it, like, hey, we want to broadcast your thing and we do pay. I'm not selling this pay-per-view. I'm doing it for broadcast.
Yeah.
I'm going to get on broadcast and I'm going to get sponsorship money through ad time because it's structured to have ad time. It doesn't have 3 15-minute ad breaks in a 6-hour fucking pay-per-view that everybody just away from when they come on. And the last one had no volume. Like who the fuck? You know how much money they probably lost on those sponsors that said my ad had no my volume. I want my money back. The way that my league is structured is to be on TV, and that's what has not happened with arm wrestling up to now. And that's what we're trying to say. And same with Ian's. Like it's still super matches, but his will still be pay-per-view because the models are different, and the way that they're going to work together is. If I get on broadcast and I get where there's cities that want to pay attention to their arm wrestling team, just like they do their basketball team and their hockey team and their soccer team, then they're going to learn to love Jerry Bell because he's the best. He's Detroit Steel's middleweight fucking badass. And now when Detroit's like at the end of the season, when Jerry Bell has a match against John Terrian, who's Toronto's badass or Montreal's badass, now that match has a city that give a shit that are behind it. You know what I mean? It's not about.
Yes. Well, I mean, I've been telling these people for years. We all buy our own merchandise, right? I mean, Barry Sanders didn't buy Lions jerseys. He didn't buy the number 1 figures. I mean, he didn't. You have to. You're right. I know where you're going. You're right. You're 100% correct.
Local investment pays off. And to Jerry's question earlier though about where's the pushback coming from? Is there pushback? In my experience from being in this as short as I am seeing the older school mindsets that do have a little bit of pushback at first until they actually get on the table, until they experience it. Conceptually, they're until they actually feel it and touch it. For all intents and purposes, this is a hands-on sport, right? Yeah. And until you actually are in it, right, and experiencing it, like, oh, this is nice. I like this.
Yeah.
But, a lot of times they're going to be a little standoffish because they're sticking mud about, they're familiar with what they're familiar with and they like what they like. They think that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I got news for you guys, but arm wrestling's a little on the broken side, so we got a tool to fix it.
It's broke. Exactly. It's broken.
I use this analogy all the time as a chef, and I used to use it all the time going into a restaurant and like I've been come in to change it and bring it up to par or up to standards or whatever, and the cook that's there will be like, oh, but we've been doing it like that for years. And I'm like, yeah, well, they've been making this for 500 years, and it still tastes like shit. So I don't care if you've been doing it this way for 10 years. It's still wrong. We're going to do it something differently now. It's like, so I don't care if you've been arm wrestling this way for 30 years. It hasn't gotten it yet. No, it's not on any. It's still where it was 30 years ago. So that's.
I agree 100%. I mean, I've had this talk with people. I've had this argument. However, people saying that that what I'm doing is absolutely ridiculous, retarded. From the very beginning, it's never going to work. Blah blah blah. Well, I mean, so we're not on TV yet, but our last event had over 100,000 viewers. We've got women on the rankings here in Michigan now.
That's awesome.
We've
and that's what you want.
That's progress.
It's progress. Yes, we're moving forward.
And that's what nobody has seen before, and that's also why when they see, I think that's why the guys have a bit of that mentality is because, partly I think is what Dan just touched on is I think there's a nostalgia to that first time that they fell in love with it or that beginning feeling that they had, and they when they see it be different, they're like, oh, no, that's not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like that time that I had it, where it was like this. That's
right.
The pure one,
yep.
And again, that they'll get over that quickly because they just want to have fun, and wherever the fun is where people are going to end up going. So that's that's how I think.
I do want to before we go forward a little bit more on this topic because I do want to dive further, but before that. One of the main reasons why we have the show is to highlight people and individuals. You say, Jerry, you've been at this for a little bit. How long have you been in the sport of arm wrestling? How did you find it? Where did Jerry Bell come from?
Yeah, let's get that done.
Honestly, I haven't been around the sport that long. I just find that I made the right some I made some good moves. I'll say that other people weren't making. So I've been a business owner for most of my life, multiple businesses, and I just seen it as a business, but I have not a profitable business. I just some of the things we do, we run it almost like a business. But I've only been around. Let's see, November 17th will be 4 years. I haven't been around any longer than that.
Wow. Okay.
Um,
That
yeah.
to me, like, just, again, speaks to, like, I've only been around for 6 years. It just speaks to how stagnant, the all the people that we're talking about that you're saying are like, oh, they don't like how it's changed. Like, well, then that's why people can come in and just have a little bit of insight, and
Yeah.
in 4, 5, 6 years make big waves, because it's like everybody else is just sitting there going like, well, I guess something's going to happen at some point,
Well, it literally just takes a little bit of effort, and I learn as I go, as well. But what I do is I don't keep repeating the shit that don't work.
Yeah.
I don't do that. If it doesn't work, we do something different. But I've only been around a little while. I haven't, and that was part of it too. Is I wasn't around. It wasn't like I had 20 years in the sport and decided to do this. I just how this happened, honestly, is I was sitting around. We practiced here quite a bit, and we didn't hold any events. And then there was a event that had some pretty high caliber pullers that were set up to pull. They, you know, they did what they do. They spent their time training and stuff, and their efforts, and they put forth, and they did all this training, and their event got canceled. So I had a few of them reach out to me and ask me, hey, we got this club here. I don't know if you can see it. We got, we got shit.
Nice.
I'm out here right now, but we got this club. We got a lot of room. We got room for parking. We got all the shit. I got a little bit of property and stuff. He says, this guy, it's actually Dan Blanchard. He says to me, yes, he says, he's a world champion. We went to Worlds together. He's the one that's trained me from day one.
That's a good training partner there.
Yeah. It's a good training partner. Lots of others along the way too, but it started with him mostly. He got me. He kind of took me under his wing a little. But he asked, he said, hey, can some of us have our matches there instead of just not having them? I'm like, well, yeah, sure, So that was our first Club Wars event, and things kind of, shit, let's do it again, So we did it again and again. It just got better and better and better. The facility gets better. Our referees got better. Our tables got better. Everything got better. And, it happened over time, and we continue to work on it. I mean, our awards, prizes, money, it's all gotten better. I've never taken a dime from any entry fees whatsoever that's ever been paid. It's just turn around and go right back into the next event. There's no money to take. I'm not taking. The sport's not ready to take it. Will it be? Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully, like what you guys are doing, and what I'm doing and stuff. Hopefully, we get it there where there is money to take. But I don't believe there is right now, and we have to set it
touch
up.
On that point where you're saying about how there isn't the money there to take yet. The only money there is to take is from the arm wrestlers, and that's what most people that do what they do is they exploit that. Even the Holy Grail right now, EVW, that's a lot of what they end up doing. Like most of the people that do the VIP, it's all just like super hardcore arm wrestling fans, and they're not trying to get
the general public doesn't know we exist.
The only way that this is going to actually take off is like if you go to a football game, like maybe or a basketball game. I know a lot of the people have maybe played the sport once before or played it in high school for a minute or something because those sports are at that level. But how many of you are competitive football players right now? It'd be like 10 people in the crowd to put their fucking hands up. Everybody else is a fan. Everybody else that watches is a fan. Nobody's an actual football player that watches football. Really, you know what I mean? Like, where now everybody's active. Like, I just went to a tournament last week, and now I'm watching East vs. West, kind of an arm wrestler. like 90% of it. We need it to be the other way around. We need 90% of who watch arm wrestling to be people that don't compete in it at all. And
Absolutely. Well, that was my whole point.
Sorry, go.
That was my whole point earlier about, like, when I mentioned Barry Sanders. You think fucking Barry Sanders gave the Lions a dime to play for them? No. Why are these arm wrestlers paying? Like, I seen an event. It was in Ohio. I don't even know who was putting it on. It's fucking dumbest shit I ever seen in my life. They were paying $25 so they could have a super match in somebody's garage. So each one pays $25. Whoever hosted this is getting $50 per match. What the fuck are we doing? I'm sorry.
It's all good.
When I started with BAL, that's what I did too. And I took the money to pay the ref, because the only thing that I wanted to have was a certified ref so that people could actually feel like it was a super match.
Yeah.
So, guys, to pay the ref at my house, and also it was COVID, so nobody's supposed to be there. But like, it's going to be whatever I charge, $20, $25 or something like that. So I can understand, but like, you have to, like, that's again the thing is that there's costs involved to make it worth being at and worth participating in. And if you can't cover those costs with spectators, then it's got to come from the athletes. And if we want it to grow, it can't be that way. You know what I mean?
So it would be extremely beneficial to start getting money from spectators. Absolutely. What I have done here, because I was unable to get money from spectators at this point, is I got some sponsors together. Basically, one of the sponsors bought all the belts for the whole promotion, from left and right, from girls on through all the classes, and goes right on up through super heavies. Right? Awesome. They bought all the belts. Yeah, so reaching out to the sponsor, so that helps with the promotion. Now every event, I'll have different sponsors for each event, because I don't take money from the arm wrestlers. They come in here. These round robins, like you see my flyers and stuff around. The only time there's money paid in a round robin is if there's money getting paid back. These round robins are for belts. They're also, for other prizes as well, different things like that. I have a women's round robin coming up. I want to do a women's round robin, so I reached out for some sponsors. So it's $1,000 round robin for the women. But it's free entry. They don't pay to enter, and that's why I am trying to promote with Club Wars. It's free. Arm wrestlers don't pay to play. You don't. Don't do it. It's ridiculous. And that's what my promotion's about.
Gotcha. I happen to like that a lot. For anybody who's just tuning in, we got Jerry Bell of Michigan, Club Wars. I got the QR code right here. If you have your phone, take a picture of it, take a screenshot, tap into that QR code. It'll take you to his Facebook page, Too Strong for You, which has all the information surrounding it. You'll see an event page on there in the near future. That's an awesome way to promote arm wrestling for people who just want to arm wrestle and not worry about the investment involved in it. Because Jerry right here has invested his time and effort and, leveraged sponsors. Because I always think that sponsors – so here's where I'm going to evolve. I want to see the sport evolve. I don't want us to run that well dry of sponsors. I want us to have financial partners who look at this as a business venture.
Correct.
Right? And I think that what Jason's got going is exactly the avenue where we can actually facilitate that.
Yeah.
And with the team arm wrestling, taking the MAC tables and the MAC rules to the next level. Like, to your point, like, Jerry, you were mentioning, and I wanted to talk about this earlier, but you were mentioning about, I can beat on that guy's arm and take fouls. But here's the thing with team arm wrestling.
Yep.
To progress further and become the team that wins, you need to have the cleanest win, meaning no fouls on you, but your opponent's got to get fouled type of deal. So you have to have the cleanest win to progress further type of deal. So that makes it that much more enticing for not just like the athlete, but also the viewer who sits there and says, like, hey, listen, I'm financially backing that team. I'm a partner to that team, and now look at what my money has presented to the world in the sport of arm wrestling. And
So,
right, like, isn't that cool right there?
yeah, 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 it's cool. Um, so promote, part of it too, is promoting, promoting. Um, so I don't know about you guys. I know Jason puts on some events and stuff, but I find it really hard. These arm wrestlers don't even want to promote
Yeah.
themselves. You know, I mean, I'm like, hey, I need a picture for your flyer, or they don't even share their own flyer. It takes them forever to get you pictures. I need information on you. Tell me all your stats and something exciting about you, so that we can, tell the world about you. And it's just like pulling teeth. It's just they don't. Why is it like that? Why?
Honestly, I don't know.
I don't know.
So I have a
found
theory.
the same thing, and it's hilarious. Sorry, guys.
I do have a theory about it regarding that.
Let's hear it.
I think that there's a mixed bag, right? And I think the majority of people, the majority of the general public, are introverted individuals. They want to keep to themselves. They're not public. They're not extroverts. The extroverts you don't see that many extroverts. If you saw that many, you'd be like, hey, what's going on here? There's something wrong with these people. If there's a room full of extroverts. That's why you have like maybe 5 extroverts to like 20 introverts. And I think that's like the ratio that we see in our sport. I myself.
Even look at the top end, like even at the very top end, how many guys are big, like superstar? Most of them are, even Levon. Like Levon doesn't like to talk. He doesn't like to be a showman at all. Like he wants to go up there, crush his opponent, and walk away. Like it's hard to find that like want to be a superstar, like Dan's saying, extroverted personality, and yeah.
But to get it to where people want to watch, like you're trying to do, Jason, and I mean, I support you 100% with it. I think it's phenomenal, and we need more of this. But that's what we need. We need them to promote themselves. We need them to be exciting. We need them. We need them to do
that. If the motto is superstar versus superstar, I need this guy to be famous so that he gets a big following. This guy to be famous so he gets a big following, so that a whole bunch of people watch this. But if it's city versus city, now it's different, right?
Because you're part of the team.
And because of the team format, because of the way that the points work and the stats work, it's all sports are, every single sport. And again, when we talk about all the fans, like if you look at most fans in most sports, they're mostly nerds. They're mostly guys that like to nerd out and speculate on what's going to happen. What's going to happen if you put this pitcher against that batter? What's going to happen when that goes against that defense? What's going to happen when this center plays against that power forward? It's all just speculation, and then we get verification on the day of the event. Because of the way arm wrestling goes, the speculation is like months of speculation, and then all this build up, and then some like, oh, that stupid foul or that stupid thing or something, like, so it ends up leaving you kind of unsatisfied and waiting for the next one. But if it's the way the game structure is, and the way the season structure is, there's a whole storyline that plays out, and the stats are based on points now. So you're looking at pullers like, oh, when that guy pulls in a hook, like Toddzilla, you've seen him do those stat videos recently.
Yep.
He's a little plug quickly. He's going to be on my podcast on Sunday, talking about stats and talking about the points, because once you add points into it, now, hey, that guy, when he pulls a hook, he only scores 0.3 points per pull. But when he pulls a top roll, he scores 4 points per pull. So he's dangerous as fuck as a top roller, but if you can put him in a hook, you're almost guaranteed to win. You know what I'm saying? Because now there's a very distinct, and any kind of nerd is going to want to nerd out on that, and then look at the game coming up and be like, oh, the hookers are going to pull, the top rollers are going to king moves, the blah, blah, blah. And it's all going to start making sense because there's all these stats and shit to go along with it, which with the way that it's presented now and the way that people get to watch it now, they fit in who that guy is. Where now they're going to like they're not going to care that the guy's an introvert. They're going to get into him because he's the top roller that scores their team the most points, or he's the hook puller that does, you know what I mean? And then stars, and then
he's from my hometown too.
And then there will be stars. There will be guys that become they're popular because they're a star more than they're a great player or puller. Like that's going to happen too. But I think that's part of good evolution to the sport, and that's also why like if team sports relied on every player being a superstar, it wouldn't work at all. Right?
Like if you look at Chicago Bulls, I'm gonna go old school right now. You look at Chicago Bulls. Michael Jordan was at the pinnacle of that, right? Do you remember Scottie Pippen
100.
as a personality?
So maybe Scotty, but you go any further, no.
Personality like Scotty for was being quiet.
Yeah, in comparison
Very quiet,
to Michael Jordan, he was definitely overshadowed by Michael Jordan.
Correct.
His
Yeah,
and his personality paled by comparison. So that's one of those things that this team concept does. You're going to have a team captain, you're going to have a team manager that are going to bring and present that personality that everyone else who cohesively comes together to generate that local region's rock star team. You're not going to have be one individual. You're going to have a conglomerate of people who say, "Oh, that squad's going up."
Oh, I get it.
People who like I like the quiet guy. Oh, I like the loud guy. I like the whatever. I like everybody likes somebody else on the team, and it adds to all that. And just another aspect to just because of the way the format works. One of the ways, like one of the things the way it's ruled out and the way that it's, if you look in the rule book, the way it's stated, the athletes are not allowed to argue with the ref. Period.
I like that. I like that a lot.
While they're in the setup, no. I want this or I want that. They can do that, but if they don't like a call, they can't be like, "What the fuck? That wasn't a pin." No. As soon as they do that.
So what happens if they do that?
If they do that, it'll be a penalty, which is 1 point, whatever. Like the point is they're not allowed to do it. It's like 100. But the manager, that's who argues, like baseball. So if the puller doesn't like the call, the puller looks over at the manager and the manager jumps up and now he's defending his team. And there's one manager side,
so that's the
one arguing, as opposed to every puller getting to think that they get their spotlight to argue and bitch and be like and say that no, this is how it's supposed to be.
So
you get what I'm saying?
So I totally get that. So and let me touch on a couple things too, because I've already had this mindset a little bit. Even a few events ago, Jason, when you helped me with the Canada versus USA, it's Canada versus USA because it's not just a city versus a city; it's a country versus a country, right? It's the same concept, and then we had team captains, so I didn't have to explain everything to every single person that came over here. I explained everything to the team captain. He took care of his team after that. If he didn't explain it, that's on him. And vice versa, same for us and everything. Everything was done that way. If there was a problem that, it was with the team captain brought it up. We didn't have a problem with everybody, which was Josh Rodriguez actually. But yeah, we kind of went that route already. Did that a little bit. That was a really good event. Everything worked really well for that, and we could definitely better that for sure. So I totally understand the concept. I agree with the concept, and I'm willing to help.
Yeah. Well, that's a part of why we're all talking too, right? Is the other way this works is that you're gonna have multiple cities that have to be that have teams and then have to have this whole kind of setup going. So each region needs a manager. And then the way we're doing it now with Montreal, and this is how I want it to work as it expands, but between Montreal and Toronto is we've got a draft coming up. So there's like 36 guys amongst the 4 weight classes that the managers will have to pick from. They'll pick their teams, and then in September we'll have the actual, in October we'll have the actual game and everything. But the having to have each city organized is part of it. Having someone like you in the Michigan area so that you can be however maybe you're not the manager for Detroit, but maybe you're my liaison to find out who's the right person to be the manager, and you end up being one of the people on the team, or however it ends up working out. And same thing with Dan in Long Island, that's a lot of the reason why I went with the areas and the cities I went with is because I already knew people in those areas that are okay. Like I knew you in Michigan, and there's other people around there. There's a lot of arm wrestling in Michigan, so Detroit's a good place to go. I knew Dan was already on board with Ian and Mac and everything, so Long Island makes sense. Same thing with Montreal, Toronto, Calgary, Vancouver. Like I know the people there. I'm talking to them already, so it's all part of bringing it together, because that's another thing with the way it is right now is because every event has to be so far apart, and there's not a lot of correlation between like one event and the next event. In super match, it's usually like this event matters to not this event, but the one after it. You know what I mean? Like we want to see the results of this event and the results of this event, and then that's going to tell us what's going to happen at this event. But with the team arm wrestling, the way it's going to work is each week there's 2 games, right? So the whole schedule is 28 games. That's what it takes to have the 8.
Hold on. Is there going to be a
There
season?
will be a season, yeah. That's how it's going to end up. Yeah.
Okay.
So right now we're in like preseason time right now, where I'm doing a game in between, like one game between 2 of all 8 teams. So you get 4 games total, right? So there'll be one in Toronto.
Okay.
I'm going to do the one in Long Island between Detroit, which will be next year in the spring or early summer. We're going to do one in Calgary in the winter, like in the beginning of 26, and then at the end or the summer of 26, we'll do one in like the Las Vegas or Florida area. When the actual season starts, what'll end up happening is, so if you have 8 teams and each team plays each other once, that's 28 games. So that's 2 games a week for a 14-week season, which means each team will play a game every 2 weeks. Based on the rotation, there are some situations where a team gets a 3-week break or a team only gets a 1-week break. But for the
So you're potentially pulling a match every 2 weeks?
Depending on the exactly for during the season, yeah.
Okay.
But because the team has a roster, that's part of the strategy, how that fatigue plays out. And
I get that.
There's 4
I get that.
rounds in a game, and each round has 1 match of every possibility. So like lightweight left, lightweight right, middleweight left, middleweight right, heavyweight left, heavyweight right, super left, super right. That's 1 round, and then there's 4 rounds like that. So you might only have pulled 1 or 2 single pulls the week, like the previous game, depending on what the strategy was. You know what I mean? You might have pulled 6, depending on how the strategy was. So you're definitely not like one of the top guys for the next game because you're resting. But the team each team has 12 people, so 3 people in each weight class, and they bring 2 to each game. So there's always 1 reserve, so that'll play into the rotation throughout the season as well, right? And that again will play into the strategy. If you're watching the season, or again if you're one of the nerds watching the season, you're going to be like, oh, their top roller, like he got beat up that game, and so he's going to be out. He's not going to be pulling in that game, so that means this. Like it'll start to add to all that strategy of who's going to get to pull who, because the way the game works is what the round is. Like I said, what's all those matches. So now before each round, you pick who's gonna fill those spots, and pullers can pull up, but they can't pull down. So there might be a situation where a light guy, it's a better match because of the top roll versus hook or press versus top roll or whatever, to put that guy against the heavier guy. If you do that and he wins, he gets an extra point. And so there's all these other aspects played into the rules.
So there's incentives. There's incentives as well.
The incentives are all the way built into it. So the way the points work, if you don't know, and just for the audience, so it's 5 points for a win, and then it's augmented by the fouls. So if I win but you have a foul, I get 6 points. If I win and I have a foul, I get 4 points. Okay, and then let's say you have 2 fouls and I have 1 foul, blah blah, 1 point, right? You get what I mean? Like they just offset that way. Then if you get a flash pin, that's an extra point. Then
Now, who deciphers what a flash pin is?
Decided by the head ref, and it's within a half second of him saying go. So he's the one that said go. He's the one there, and he's basically looking for no resistance. If he sees it slow down or sees like shaking or struggling, then it's not a flash pin. It's got to be like it right away.
Okay.
But for right now, we're leaving that at the discretion of the ref. Once we're in a full season and it's like actually live broadcast, I'm sure we'll end up having a stopwatch check on that a lot of the time. You know what I mean? But the way it's written in the rules is a half second of the go. And then so pulling up a weight class, you get an extra point per weight class. So like if a lightweight wins a heavyweight class, he gets an extra 2 points. And then because there's 4 matches in each class, like I said, if a team shuts out one, so let's say a team wins all the lightweight left-hand matches of the game, when they win that 4th match of the game, they get an extra 5 points. And then each team picks a captain at the beginning of the game. And that captain isn't really in charge of anything, but his wins all count for an extra point. So you want to pick the guy based on the strategy who you think is going to win the most matches that day,
points.
Right? And then the last thing is there's gambles. So each team has 2 gambles. The gambles are double points. So they can gamble on a match, making the points worth double. If they lose it, the other team will get the double points, but they obviously are going to try to do it in a match that they think they're going to win.
So you want to build your team with the smallest, strongest people you can find.
I mean, that's one strategy for sure. You have to have 2 people in each weight class, so it's not like you could stack a weight class or something like that. So that strategy will still play in, because if you're going to use a lighter guy to pull up, then the guy left in that weight class is going to have to handle his weight class. But it's still part of a strategy, especially for the full season, because guys who could cut weight, like picking a heavyweight like pork chop, for example, who's right at 250 and can make 245 like without a problem, and can just get to eat one day or get to eat 1 week and then be in the 250s. He's a perfect example of somebody who we're going to register him as a heavyweight this week. He's going to be a super heavyweight next week, depending on the.
Okay. Well, and just for example, like what a good person be. I was thinking of like Dan Blanchard, who can pull 154s if he wants to, and yet he can also be the number 1 left-handed guy in Michigan if he wants to. Yeah,
that's a great example of somebody who he's going to be your 175. Like for sure he's in your 175 class, but you might use him to win like for extra points to win some of the pull up matches, and you might do it in a way where like you also, so since he's going to pull up into a middleweight class, you might use your middleweight who's good enough to pull a heavyweight. You know what I mean? Because what happens is the fatigue. So let's say the first round, the 2 heavyweight right-handed guys go at it, and your middleweight right-handed guy, he didn't pull that round because your lightweight right-handed guy.
So he's fresh.
He's totally fresh, but the other heavyweight already had 1 match. Well, now that's a really fucking close match. You know what I mean? And this is also
understood.
The thing that's really going to explain how much the strength balances out the technique in arm wrestling for the non-arm wrestler. They're going to understand that like when you're stronger, it looks like this, but once the strength is close, it becomes this kind of a fight, and that's what's going to be really interesting and intriguing, right? Like most people who know arm wrestling, the 2 things they get off on the most are when they see somebody that looks small, like the smaller guy beat a bigger guy, okay? And then when they see a match go from what looks like a losing position to a winning position. Those are the 2 things that non-armers go like, oh my God, how did that happen? You know, and just for that, just entices that to happen as much as possible, you know?
Now, one thing I wanted to point out about that I love, and it actually goes to one of your points earlier, Jerry, about the guys who run current ranking systems. How do they feel about that? How do they review us? Coolest thing about this, we're creating essentially our own internal ranking system surrounding the points, surrounding the stats, and how these guys win or take losses. And you can actually look back at these guys' stat cards and how they perform at these events, right? And then in each of the classes, you'll see as the seasons progress, as the show progress, you'll see who stacks up against who.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It'll figure itself out eventually. Yeah,
that's the idea is to try to structure it in a way where it like you just said, it figures itself out, you know. And I think that, and it's any good sport. Again, it's like people get to test it and be like, oh, you know what, I'm going to do this and see if that works. I'm going to do this and see if that works. And when we had the first Flamecast a couple weeks ago with Ian, and he did the draft, and he went through the draft, and the pullers that he picked were so much different than the pullers that I had picked when I had done my own little draft, that I was just like, I was so, it was a moment of that where it figured itself out, where I was like, wow, this is perfect, because I thought I was going to have to dictate a couple of the picks to make sure that things ended up at a certain level of evenness. And then after seeing it, I was like, actually, no, it's really going to it's going to be strategy, because the two managers know the pullers. The two managers are really good arm wrestlers. They know arm wrestling. So when one team picks a certain puller for a weight class, they're going to have to react to that. You know what I mean? And it's going to forcing competitive teams, which is the only issue that I've had in the last two games that I've hosted, and I've really been able to refine a lot of the rules and a lot of the format in doing those two games. But the only issue that I've had is that the games weren't that competitive. The first game was competitive for a little bit there, and the losing team caught up for a second. But for the most of the game, the winning team was ahead, and by the end of the game, they were ahead by so much it got a little uninteresting. And that kind of happened with my last game as well. So that is one of the things which I fixed in the format to kind of deal with that as well. If a game becomes uneven, like there's still a way for it to either end quicker or be exciting or be like, oh, that happened. Like I've been used to it. But
I mean, we're gonna have that. I mean, we have that in every sport too.
Exactly.
So, I mean, you're gonna have it.
Exactly.
You will
Well,
have
just
that.
for me as a
Absolutely.
pilot of like trying to prove this concept, like you said to all the people that are like, well, everybody wants to doubt it right off the bat. That's the only thing I've been missing, which I feel like with this game, because of the way I set it up in the draft, is going to be totally mitigated, and that's what I'm really excited for, is to like in the fourth quarter see what people are actually doing for strategy, what's actually happened, what's the matchup that's really going to matter, you know, like because that's the other thing, because of the points. It doesn't matter who, like the game could come down to a lightweight left-hand match. It could come down to a superweight right-hand match. You have no idea, you know, and so everybody's just as valuable, you know.
Yeah, no, I like it. Yeah. You have your ladies in the game, yeah.
Yeah. So
on the team.
So the way I'm doing that ladies this time. So the very first game I ran it co-ed. And there was a ladies class, so it was like women's class and then the four that I named.
Okay.
The issue I had with doing that is figuring out what weight class to make that one weight class for the women's, and like it was just a little too restrictive for the women's. And if I add more weight classes, then it becomes too big and the game takes too long. So it doesn't. It starts to fall out of the broadcast model. So what I'm doing with the women in this event, and which is, I don't know how many events will have it, but I'll do it as often as I can, is I've got 3 super matches between Toronto and Montreal, but instead of running it like super match, super match, super match, they're going to run the first round of each match and then rotate it. So basically in the game format, but like first round, and then repeat that 4 times with the point system, and then the winning team will win. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So it's not really a super match, like they're playing for their team, but they're only going to pull the girl that they've agreed to pull. They're going to only pull with the one arm, and they're going to only pull the 4 matches, and they're going to do it in that rotation. So it doesn't have the same strategy and the feel of the game, but it still gives you the team mentality. And that's an example of something like, not to speak for Mac, but I'm pretty sure at Challenger Series or at some point, you'll see Mac do that same kind of thing, especially if they have a situation where they have 3 super matches between guys that are on opposing team, you know, like 3 guys from High Hookers and 3 guys from another club or something.
Yeah.
They might, you know, to make it exciting and to do something different, they might run a format like that more often. That's the way I'm going to run the women's thing.
The one thing I wanted to highlight that we didn't mention in this points-driven system, one of the things that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, but the point system originated with the no elimination format, right? And it evolved from that for this team arm wrestling. Right?
I think you know what? I'm not 100% sure if I came up with one or the other first. I think that I came up with the team thing, and before I actually did a team thing, I did the no elimination tournament. Like I adapted the points to the no elimination because I was trying to promote the points and get to the team concept. But I did do so. You're right in the sense that like as a viewer, it would look that way because no elimination was the first thing I presented.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the reason why I mentioned that is the pathway of progression, right? And one of the things that really excited me about the brand and about the model is that, let's say you do well at the no elimination tournament, you place first, and Jerry, for your understanding and for the viewers' understanding, no elimination is essentially like a round robin. It's a modified round robin concept where you accrue more points for the cleanest wins, very similarly as you would with the team format.
Yeah, it's the same point system. Same point system. It doesn't have the strategy things like pulling up and like gambles.
So if you do well with those, in that format, and you place the highest number, you get considered for this team format. You get put into the draft pool. Like it earmarks you and say, "Hey, this is a pooler we got to pay attention to because we want to bring them on to the squad." Because look at how he killed it in this format.
Yeah. So just to elaborate on what Dan's talking about is the idea that we've basically the like full vision, whatever 10-year, 5-year, maybe only 2-year, who knows, but the full vision plan is that the regions that have teams, so Detroit, for example, anywhere around Michigan and stuff, someone like yourself or whoever is affiliated with us can host no elimination tournaments, and those no elimination tournaments will use, like, I have the same scoreboard format. I have it formatted for the no elimination tournaments. I haven't fully finished it yet, so I wasn't able to use it at Dan's event, but we have it formatted. We have it formatted. So then you just go to an event. Oh, there's arm wrestling happening at this bar or whatever. Oh, that's cool. You watch it. But when you watch it now in the no elimination, because of the scoreboard and because of the point system, it's a little bit easier to follow than just a double elimination tournament. So you might follow it and the player cards, and you get interested. If at this point you've already seen TAWF on TV, you're going to recognize the scoreboard and everything. It's going to make sense, and it's like a farm league. It's like once you've become the top of the no elimination tournaments in your region, now you're getting drafted by the team in your region, and then once you're the best of the guys on the team in your region, then you're going to be getting into max super matches for the super matches at the big events.
Gotcha.
I mean, like,
so basically the goal is to have no elimination tournaments all over the place to find out not who's willing as well, but also find out who these pullers are, get them into the pool so they can be drafted. That's what we're looking to do.
And give them a clear path of, like, if they saw a max super match and they were like, oh, that's crazy, and then they can clearly see, okay, if I start going to the no elimination tournaments, I can get drafted by the team, and then I can get max super matches. Like, it gives people a clear path of how to get there,
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. I totally understand.
Is this Ian joining us again?
It's Ian, but it's disembodied. There he is. What's up, Ian? Welcome back. All right.
Oh, okay, see you later.
See you later. That was short-lived. So, Jerry, we covered a lot of ground. We covered a lot of ground tonight. I wanted to ask one big question, though.
Sure.
Beyond, I know you have coming up July 26th, you have Club Wars. It was 10, I think you said?
26 is 10, yep.
Wow, that's number 10. What's next beyond that? Do you have something in the works?
So September 17th, I have one set up. It's actually a Wednesday night. It's Club Wars 10.5. It's our dark card, and we have some really big matches for that event. So that is my last event scheduled. I actually have a tournament that night as well. But I do have some really big matches, a lot of comeback matches from people with torn biceps, stuff like that. Matter of fact, I think we got like 3 torn bicep comebacks on the 17th.
Wow.
Yep, and then I will have a little tournament that night. We do our Wednesday night stuff a little different. I call them Wednesday night warrior challenges. We'll do weight classes a little different. I'd have to look at the flyer to see what we did for this one. It's like 0 to 60, to 160, and then I think we do like 161 to like 200, and then over 200, and then we have a women's class. So we make it pretty simple for the Wednesday nights, but we do have some really big matches coming up on the 17th. I don't have anything scheduled after that, but I typically throw a Club Wars event. Like I try to get it about maybe every 3 months. So we'll probably have one in December or somewhere around there as well.
Cool.
Right. So you'll be fairly active by way of promotions. Please scan this QR code. It'll take you to his Facebook page. You'll see any updates and all. We'll grow his Facebook channel, his Facebook presence. Anybody who can follow him, it'll just help get more eyes on the sport.
We make more ready goes happen in this barn than anywhere in the state. That's for sure.
There you go. I like that.
That's the goal anyway. Just to keep people arm wrestling. I get a lot of new people in it this way because, and here's my theory, and this is for everybody out there holding tournaments. Hear me out. I understand you don't want to give the new puller super matches. I get it. I do. But let me ask you this. He goes and let's just say that you have this new puller. He wants to try arm wrestling. Well, he goes and he pays $30 for one arm, $20 for the other arm. He's out $50. He probably drove fucking 2 hours or better, So he goes 2 and out. He's done. It's over. He goes home. That's super fun. Well, how many times do you think somebody's going to do that before they quit doing it? It's not going to happen a lot. You better hope they're pretty good when they start. Otherwise, they're not going to stick with it.
Well, that's also why I like the no elimination format, because you pull everyone in your class.
Yeah, and round. Yeah, I love that. That's great for that.
Hey, and if you buy some Mac tables and run some Mac events, you could have thousands of people show up and get it done like that.
We'll talk about that. But so what I've done, you can't have like no experience, but what I've done is I've given some people with less experienced matches. And they bring their family, they bring their friends, their girlfriends come or their husbands come. They come to support them, and well, they're not going 2 and out. They have 5 rounds, and they're fighting with somebody that's of like strength and like experience. So they're not going to get in there, and it's not going to be a one-sided show. So they actually have fun with it. Win, lose, or draw, they have more fun with it. So. And then they join the tournament afterwards. They pull that stuff anyway. They get some more ready goes. Even if they go 2 and out in that tournament, they had a match beforehand, right? So their whole day was really fucking good. Now, compared to the guy that went to the tournament, got beat up by professional arm wrestlers and went 2 and out and spent $50 and drove 2 hours. This guy didn't spend a dime. He got some arm wrestling in. He might have won some shit. I don't even know. If he wins, you're getting something. So I've gotten more people into the sport that way. And I just think that it could be considered a little more. The no elimination tournament is really good for that.
The other thing you got to look at it too. If people that are ranked higher don't accept lower, then how does anyone move up? You also have to look at it. How did you get there? Like. Probably off the back of somebody that was higher than you that accepted it,
So I have a fix for the rankings, though. We fixed that here in Michigan. We just revamped all the rules and everything. So, and I actually just shared the rules. They asked one of the Canadian clubs that has rankings over there, like, hey man, they reached out. They're like, can we get these rules? They're on my page. If you go to my Facebook, you'll find them. I do help run the rankings here in Michigan. So what we did is. If you cannot turn down a match, if somebody calls you out, you have to pull them. You're going to pull them. We have a time frame and everything. I'm not going to go through the whole rules right now. You do have to pull them. But if the number one guy, here's the thing with the number one guy, he does not lose his rank in a tournament setting. Right. So now we're back to arm wrestling. We don't have people dodging tournaments and stuff so they don't lose rank. The number one guy can't lose his rank in a tournament. It has to be super match format only. However, if you do beat the number one guy, because we don't want just everybody calling out the number one guy, right? If the only person that can call out the number one guy and he has to accept is somebody that beat him in a tournament. Now anybody else can call him out. He does not have to accept it.
What about
Everybody else, number
What
two
about-
has to accept.
No, but number 2 can call out number 1, no?
Number two can call out number one, but it does not mean he's going to accept. The only person, so he has a time. He will have to accept eventually. He has a time frame.
Okay.
That he has to accept that match. But what I'm saying is you can't take a non-ranked person, call out your number one guy, and expect him to say yes. So we don't do that here. The only way you can call out the number one guy if you're not in the top 10 on the rankings is you must beat him in a tournament. If you beat him in a tournament, then you can call out the number one guy. Now, anybody under the number one guy in the top 10 can call him out. He does not have to accept immediately, but he does have a certain time frame that he has to accept that match within. There are injury clauses, a few things like that. We made it pretty simple as far as that. To get on the rankings, though, if you're not a ranked arm wrestler, the only person you can call out to get on the rankings is the number 10 guy. He has to pull you.
He's probably the busiest guy. He'll be the busiest guy.
I want to be the number 10 guy so bad.
Yeah.
But he does have to accept no matter what. You're the low guy. You're the gatekeeper, basically.
Yeah.
Above that, now the number 9 guy does not have to accept Joe Blow's challenge. He doesn't have to. But if he's the number 10 guy calling out the number 9 guy, then you would have to. We've made some serious changes with our rankings, and if you're interested in seeing the actual rules on paper, they're slightly different. There's a lot more to it.
Definitely sounds like it's something I would want to look at and utilize in my own club, because we've always had like the idea of how to do it, and everyone has their own idea, but I kind of like yours, so it's something I might want to adopt.
There's a few of us that sat down and we went over this, and we went over it until we just kept going in circles and circles. Well, what if this happens? What if this happens? And just fuck. I think it took 6 months. And then our one guy that helps with the rankings a little bit, he finally sat down, he wrote it up, what we agreed on, and this is what we have. We just put that out there, and I'm happy to, after the show, I'm happy to send it to anybody. There's some really good points and really good rules. It's very helpful.
Awesome. Hey guys, I'm just gonna 9:30 now, and I gotta work early, so I'm gonna call it a night. But I really appreciate being on here. It's been awesome talking to you, Jerry. Dan, thank you very much.
Always a pleasure, Jason.
Ian,
looking forward to working with you and seeing you in October.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, actually, I'll see you soon.
See you in New York. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see you in Rochester. We're going to be destroying this guy. Some guy from Montreal.
I see you. Shiyu.
Shiyu's coming for you, man. I don't know. I don't know if you're ready for that level of power.
I'm hoping that I can be ready.
I gotta get off here as well.
And I will talk to you.
It's been real nice.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry. I appreciate talking to you as well. I'm glad you
like. Sorry, I missed most of it.
It's all good. For a good reason.
Jason, we'll be in touch though. Let's get together a little bit. Yeah.
Thank you guys. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you guys for joining.
Is that it then there, Dan?
No, I'm going to quickly promote 2 events that are coming up, and then it'll be it. But Jerry, feel free to hop off if you need to take off.
All right. It's a pleasure speaking with you guys. Thanks for having me. I'm going to go shower up and go take care of the night here, but I do appreciate you having me. We'll be in touch.
Absolutely. Definitely will stay in touch. Don't be a stranger, man.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
So the 2 events that I wanted to promote, I'm going to promote the more local one first, only because they showed up in force at my event, at the summer kickoff event, and they were very helpful, and they're a part of doing early weigh-ins. Battle at Betty's is going to be ran by Team Beast Mode. It's going to be like a mega practice with a couple of super matches. one of the highlights about it that I like is they're going to have a whole lot of ladies super matches, and so we're going to see some newer arm wrestlers that are females that are going to be coming in the sport. Hopefully, we'll see more of them. I will say it is a event that's at a place called Black Betty's Saloon, which is also a strip club. So if that's your thing, if that's right up your alley, feel free to go ahead and check that out.
Is Dan got a super match there?
Dan's got a super match there. He will be there. We will
Cool.
be dividing and conquering because while
You'll
that
be at
event,
Mac. Yeah.
I will be over at Mac. If you go on the Mac Facebook page, you'll see all about it. You guys got to create an event page, man, for it because it makes it easier to promote. But that being said, the Mac we have almost 30 super matches, I think.
Pretty close, yeah.
Damn near close to that. Maybe a couple more, in the pipelines. Last minute, add-ons. I am taking on. I can't pronounce his last name, but John Luke. What's his last name? Ian Kouassi.
Yeah, he's French Canadian by way of either Africa or Haiti. I can't remember, but his name
Gotcha.
is Kawasi or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, John Luke.
He's fuck. You got your hands full, man.
I got my hands full, but I gotta tell you, lately I am no slouch. You saw what I was able to do.
You've been kicking ass and taking names lately, right? But that's great, right? When you take a loss and for you to bounce back so like amazingly after your loss, and it's kind of sad because the guy that I don't know if you heard, but the guy that beat you, he's out for a while. His shoulder is all fucked up.
It saddens me, but you know what? He lit Danimal. Big shout out to Danimal for lighting that fire. Back in March, I went up to Canada and I took a massive licking. Talk about a humbling experience. I saw a lot of holes in my game because of him, and I took every bit of that as a lesson. Hit my nose to the ground. And I did not actually compete for almost 3 months because I knew I needed work to be done. Right, I had work to be done, and I came out of the floodgates. To the last 5 weeks, I had 5 weeks of tournaments that I really wanted to show. Hey, I've leveled up because of this guy and because of the loss. And Ian, you bear witness. I mean, you didn't see it in person, but you've seen some of the successes I had.
No, I said this. This is what I said to you. I said I would have taken a loss to Danimal 100 times to get one win on Sam Harris.
There you go. There you have it. From the
mouth of if I was you, for sure. But I mean, Danimal is he's 60 years old. He's a relative unknown. He's getting more popular now because of Mac. And the club that he belongs. Yeah, the clubhouse for Ottawa is actually at his house. Were you aware?
I know. I've been there.
Oh, okay.
That's how I met him.
Oh, okay. So, anyways, but Sam Harris is Nitro. Like he is a WAL superstar, and like one of the best arm wrestlers, in my opinion, in North America. At least he was, and I mean knowledge, and he's such a natural, right? He's so he's like water, right? He just path of least resistance. He reminds me of Jake Charles up here in Canada. But anyway, man, I'll let you go. I gotta eat something here, and we'll see you on the 19th.
Absolutely, looking forward to the 19th. Me and she were coming up together to take names and beat up some Canadians.
All right, bro. Take care.
Catch you later, brother.